What does everybody want? You're all supposed to yell head, but I can't hear you because it's a camera and this is live. Um, so we're talking about Al Snow today, and in particular head, which hopefully he still gets. Um, Al Snow started in the '80s. He was trained by Gene and Ole Anderson, and he wrestled as Al Snow, and in WCW very briefly, and then made his debut in ECW where he had the match of the year, and then in Smoky Mountain. And then went on to WWE under various gimmicks, including Avatar, where he put a mask on once he got into the ring, and Leif Cassidy. And because of these gimmicks, he went back to ECW because he didn't catch on and was a jobber in WWF because of the stupid gimmicks. He went back to ECW and was reading a book on abnormal psychology and found a mannequin head and thought of a new gimmick of a schizophrenic. He talks to a mannequin head. And it came off a joke that he asked Cactus Jack what to do to get ahead in wrestling business. And he says, you have to get a little head. And so he started talking. He wrote, help me backwards on his forehead, which, trust me, is not as easy as it sounds. And he came out with this mannequin head, which he talked to, and it was a big hit in ECW, so much that the fans would kit mannequin heads and would yell head every time he came to the ring. And then he came back to WWF in 1998 with head and was a big success. Now, as you know, WWF makes toys, makes action figures of their wrestlers. And of course, Al Snow's wrestler would, of course, come with head. This caused a stir because a assistant communications professor in Georgia saw the Al Snow action figure at Walmart with head and thought there was a problem. So she wrote an article for the Atlanta probably a, not really an article, but probably a editorial piece for the Atlanta Constitutional saying that it depicts violence against women. Wrote to the Atlanta Constitution saying that it depicted violence against women. Because she said, what kind of message is this sending to my 6 and 11-year-old, him coming out with a decapitated head? Thinking, of course, Al Snow wrote help me on his forehead, and it's just going around with a machete chopping off divas' heads in WWE, which would be quite expensive for WWE because they'd real quickly run out of divas for Al Snow to chop off heads up. So the Atlanta Constitution picked this up, and a manager at Walmart seen this, and very quickly Walmart banned Al Snow toys across the country. And this caused a big stir. Now, this caused people to want Al Snow toys. And other toy stores quickly brought in more Al Snow toys because they're selling like hotcakes. Because people wanted the toy with the decapitated head. Now, WWE wrote this into their storylines, causing Al Snow to get depression because of the article, or because Walmart stopped selling his toy. And shortly after WrestleMania 15, with Al Snow feuding with Albert then put head on a pike. effectively ending Head. Well, then Al Snow started coming out with a Chihuahua named Pepper. And Pepper peed on the announcers several times because Pepper was a Chihuahua. And he was not a trained Chihuahua. He was just a random Chihuahua that he probably picked out at a pet store and said, "Here's your dog, Al." And then Big Boss Man kidnapped Pepper. And I think bit Big Boss Man at one point in time. And then Big Boss Man said, "I'll give Pepper back to you if you let me face you for the hardcore title." Which Al Snow agreed, and then Big Boss Man lost and said, "Nope, taking Pepper back." So then Big Boss Man invited Al Snow to his hotel room for dinner, and he announced that he fed Al Snow Pepper. This was based, of course, off something Mr. Fuji did. And then Al Snow and Big Boss Man fought in a hardcore Kennel from Hell match, which was a steel cage match. Fought in a Hell in a Cell match or a steel cage match. Fought in a Hell in a Cell match with dogs in between, and the goal was to get out without being bit by the dogs. Of course, they were not trained dogs, which caused them to piss, shit, and have sex all over the place. And so they could not show the dogs on TV doing this, even though it was a pay-per-view. So it was just a clusterfuck. And that is pretty much the story of Head and Pepper, both of whom Al Snow talked to. Al Snow, though, later, after he became the head of OVW, said to Abaddon that her and another woman would have a better match if they fought a dildo on a pole match. Now, I am not denying those allegations. I don't know if he denied those allegations, but I think a dildo on a pole match would be a fun match to watch. Because you have to remember, the purpose of a pole match is to beat each other with the weapon. So can't you imagine two wrestlers fighting a match and then beating each other with the dildo? Oh my God, he hit him with the dildo. He's busted open. The dildo busted him open. Watch out, that big dildo shot. Just take that dildo away from him. He's choking him with the dildo. Al Snow did go later on and say about Head that although his thing is he is number 5 banned from Walmart of the 22 things banned from Walmart, number 1 being pregnant Barbie. We don't know how Barbie got pregnant. We think it was immaculate conception. He said that you can still go into Walmart and buy a hunting gun and a hunting knife and kill people. That is all for this week's show. Join me later in the week for Wolf Cop.